Hey everybody, good morning. It is Monday, March 16th, and I just wanted to give a little update here on the channel. I'm going to do a video about, I'm going to do a carnivore sort of report video here, and I'm going to talk about the various diets that I've been on in the past and my experiences with them, and then also just an update on what's going on with me now on the carnivore diet. And I'm going to answer a few of the questions that were on Facebook, or respond to a few of the statements on Facebook and on the YouTube comments. But before I do that, I wanted to let everybody know about about something that's going on here. I have decided that I'm going to start an online social group in response to what is going on here, because social isolation, self-quarantining, all of these things, whatever you think about the coronavirus or not, if you think it's a good idea to practice social distancing to keep yourself safe, I certainly respect that. But one of the dangers of doing that is that people become increasingly isolated, get cabin fever, all that kind of stuff, and it can be demoralizing. So I'm going to take this opportunity to create a modified version of something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. As you know, I have an interest in underground dance music. I like underground parties. I love fancy mixology cocktails. I love weird information and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that's been really interesting me over the course of the last year are these things called listening bars or listening rooms, where people come, they get together, they have, in some cases, coffee, in other cases, cocktails, and they listen to music. And there's, probably it's at a little bit lower volume than a nightclub. And so there's an opportunity to discuss that, as well. And it's focused less on like dancing and partying than like a regular bar, nightclub, or party would be. My kind of take on that was that I would like to do a similar thing that involved both information and music. And so I'm going to be starting sort of an online speakeasy listening room. It is going to be called Conspiracy Cocktail. It's skeleton so far, but the group is already started on Facebook. I'm planning to do this on Friday evenings during, for now it'll be during this period of time that we're in coronavirus craziness, but if it goes well and people enjoy it, it may go on, with the idea of it maybe actually moving into a physical thing when the world returns to some form of normalcy, or even if it doesn't. This will give me an opportunity to take all of these interests that I've had and combine them together and curate an experience. And I'm going to include cocktails in this in an interesting way. Obviously, I can't make you cocktails through the computer, at least not yet, but I'm going to be sharing recipes. And if people want to come to the group having made the cocktail or whatever other cocktail they want to enjoy, they're certainly welcome to. So I will be sharing cocktail recipes. And when you show up for the group on Friday evenings, there will be some curated, really interesting information for us to listen to together and discuss, as well as some music. And I will be contacting some of my musical friends to be providing some of that content. I may even get into having some of my friends from the alternative media, or even just from my regular life, sit in as sort of guest co-hosts on those evenings. I'm not seeing these as recorded events. I'm seeing these as things that you have to be present in order to enjoy. So I would like to hear people's thoughts on this idea and responses from people who would be interested in joining the group, and I will make that happen for you. I think this could be really fun, so I hope you all will join me. All right, now on to the topic for today's video. So I'm on the second week. Today's the first day of the second week on the carnivore diet. I ate nothing but animal products last week, with the exception of Saturday night. I went for my meal out and whatnot. And it was kind of interesting because I did notice a difference. I didn't feel terrible. I felt fine in the immediacy overnight, and into the next morning, I had a little bit of what I would say was slight discomfort, but just feeling differently than I had been feeling the rest of the week. So that was interesting. And then yesterday I got right back on to just doing animal products, and I'm feeling good. And so we'll see how this goes this week. And yeah, I don't really have too much more to report about anything feeling different in my body than it did when I was talking about this yesterday. But I mentioned yesterday all the various diets that I've done over the years. And so I'm going to go kind of through chronological order through all the different diets and the pros, cons, benefits, all that kind of stuff of them. And, as I continue to detail my experience here on the carnivore diet, I'm also going to answer some questions. So the first diet that I ever did that was anything different than a person normally does when they're a kid was I became a vegetarian when I was 14. And the thing that led to this was I was driving from Los Angeles to Sacramento with my mother and my sister to visit my grandparents. And we stopped at Harris Ranch, which is where much of the beef from in the United States comes from. It's here in California, in Central California. And you can stop there and there's a hotel and a restaurant and you can eat beef that comes from that ranch. And so we have done this many times before. And, but you know, at 14, you're starting to have a different level of awareness. So we went there, we ate our lunch. I had a French dip sandwich. It was delicious. And then after the hotel and restaurant, when you're driving further north, that's where you see the fields where all of these animals are kept. Right. And it just, I had that moment of connecting the dots that the French dip sandwich I had just enjoyed had likely been in the field the week before. And that was overwhelming for my consciousness. And so we, you know, I started to think about it, and we went to Sacramento and, you know, visited with my grandparents a little bit. I think that's what happened. I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. We had so many trips to Sacramento. Yeah, I'll get smushed. But I know on this trip, we were also going to Lake Tahoe for a little bit of a vacation. By the time I was in Lake Tahoe, I had already decided I wasn't eating beef. And so just ate like chicken and fish when we were there. And by the time I came home, I decided I was a vegetarian. And this greatly reduced, obviously, the number of things that I could eat. It was an annoyance to my parents on a certain level. But the other thing that was going on was I was still a high-level competitive gymnast at this point. And so it really changed the way I was eating for performance. I was a vegetarian for almost 15 years, actually about 15 years. And during that time, the psychology that also went along with it, that wasn't necessarily how it started, but certainly joined in, was that I thought this was something that was good for staying skinny and losing weight. Because by the time you get to 14 or 15, when you're, especially in life in general these days, but especially in the gymnastics world, you're constantly concerned about what your body looks like. You're going through puberty, it's changing. You want to stay skinny, you want to look like a little kid, all that crap that goes along with it. So I thought this was helping me. But what actually happened was my gymnastics career really stalled out. Like, I almost don't think, with the one or two slight exceptions, I don't think I ever learned any really new, harder skills after that point. I began feeling sluggish and you know, just I didn't feel a lot of energy. I felt heavy in the legs and whatnot, but I didn't associate it with the vegetarian diet because I thought that was good for you. I thought I was just experiencing the things I had heard about, oh, when gymnasts start to get older, everything is harder. And in addition to that, I was starting to experience some eating disorder issues, which played a part in it as well. But in hindsight, I really do think that it was the vegetarian diet. Now, I probably didn't do the vegetarian diet right. I was 14. I did no research. I just eliminated meat. And so I was eating probably mostly carbohydrates, like a lot of pasta and things like that. Some vegetables. I've never been a person who was hard to get them to eat their vegetables. I mean, maybe I had a period like that when I was a little kid. But I was eating a lot of carbs. I'd already developed a secret sugar addiction because my parents wouldn't let me have sugar when I was a kid. So I was always sneaking around with all that. And then once I turned 16, as you've heard me talk about in some of the sugar videos, like the license to drive was the license to eat candy. So I was eating a ton of sugar, a ton of carbs, some vegetables, probably no protein, other than like maybe the occasional eggs or something with tofu. But there was no attention to what made up my diet necessarily, right? It was just, am I fat? Am I thin? You know, that kind of thing. So I did it completely wrong. I am not saying that it isn't possible to do the vegetarian diet correctly, but I am saying that it requires quite a bit of attention. And so certainly if vegetarian diet is something that you are doing or want to do, you obviously have to pay a lot of attention to it. But for me, at this point, I can comfortably say that my experience with the vegetarian diet ruined my gymnastics career. And then, you know, later on, after I was done with gymnastics, I was a vegetarian until I was almost 30. Maybe till I was 29, I said 28 or 29. It just did never lead to me feeling good about my body. I never felt good in my body. I never felt like I looked like what I wanted to look like, felt like what I wanted to felt like, and I was never satisfied. I was always hungry and was never satisfied with what I've been eating. So I know that there's lots of people out there that have had different experiences. This is not a judgment or a moral thing or anything like that about that. That was just my experience with the vegetarian diet. Yeah, I've known a lot of vegetarians. Most of them eventually stop being a vegetarian. People become vegetarian for all kinds of reasons. I just laid out mine to you, and those were pretty much my experiences. Yeah, so I will also acknowledge that eating disorders and drug use during some of those years probably affected my health as much or more. But there was also plenty of time during those years where those things weren't going on, and I still felt pretty much that same way. So that's my experience with the vegetarian diet. And I am going to now look at a couple of things that people said on Facebook, and then I'll go to YouTube. So Masaki suggested that I interview Tristan from Primal Edge Health. I've heard a lot about him. I've actually never listened to an interview with him, but I will at some point, either on this channel or on the Internal Alchemy series on Off Planet Radio, be interviewing some people from this more carnivore or carnivore-ish type of community. But I'm going to wait till the end of my 30 days so that I can really like have a good discussion with them based on having some experience doing that. And I will definitely include Tristan. A lot of people have told me they really like him. He's been being recommended to me for a long time. So I will definitely interview Tristan if he will so oblige. Let's see. There's some people saying that they've been vegetarian but are starting to reevaluate. Their mind blocks them. I understand that. You know, it took me, when I finally did start eating meat, which was about, I don't know, I'd say early 2000s. I started being a vegetarian in like 1989 and started eating meat again sometime in the early 2000s. But it took me a long time to get there, and I had to tiptoe back, and it was several more years before I ate red meat again. So I definitely understand that. And it just ultimately finally came to, I wasn't feeling well and I was willing to try anything. And one morning I woke up like tasting iron in my mouth, and I looked up what that meant, or tasting metal in my mouth, and I looked up what it meant, and it said iron deficiency, eat a steak. I ate a steak that night. I felt amazing, and I never stopped. So I've been eating meat for many, many years. Again, there were some people in the comment section who seemed to think that I had just made a switch from a vegetarian diet to eating meat. No, I've been eating a much more well-rounded, healthy diet for many years now, and I've tried many things, and I'll be detailing those here in the days to come. Let's see. I agree. So someone here says that almost any diet will work if people do it correctly. I totally agree with that. There is not only one path to heaven. Many diets work. The most important thing with any quality diet is what you're doing is eliminating junk foods and processed foods and any things that are not like whole foods. So if you've been eating the standard American diet, any more healthful diet that you switch to and stick to, you will have some benefits. Some may be more appropriate for certain people than others, but that point is excellent. Yeah, the more people talking about Tristan and liking that their focus is on something other than coronavirus. And a lot of people are also trying the Corona diet here. Some of the people that you know from the alternative media and other people who've been longtime listeners talking about their experiences on it, wanting to hear mine. Yeah, cool. I appreciate all the nice feedback. Thank you guys. Kara's Kara St. Louis, my friend, I didn't know she had been a vegetarian for a long time. I didn't know she had gone back on meat 2 years ago, and it helped her with a long-term injury and helped with some of her personal issues as well that are pretty funny. I'll let you guys read the comment section on that if you like. And let's see, what else? Let's see, someone else who's been a vegetarian since 1973, started eating meat about a year ago and she's feeling good. Another vegan, someone who'd been a vegan for 4 years is also eating meat and feeling good. And yeah, so that was there on Facebook and on YouTube. I unfortunately, let's see, somebody took the opportunity to preach at me, but that's okay. They're at their place in their journey and I'm in my place on mine. So I respect their experience and whatnot. And yeah, somebody here was, said interesting that I had a course correction to my path. This going on the carnivore diet, I don't know if that's a course correction. That's right now an experiment. The course correction for me occurred back in 2014 when I went on a candida diet and really got my body to a new level of health that I hadn't really experienced since childhood. And everything that's been since then has been, you know, sort of rearranging, you know, the furniture, right? Like just experimenting with different things to see what works better. But I've been in really good health for more than 5 years now. But I agree. You know, with a lot of the things that he said, Dr. Mercola did also change his stance on some things. One of my big issues, like once I started recognizing what had happened for me when I changed my diet, and especially after I sort of downloaded all the information on the sugar as programmable matter, people started asking for sessions, and I needed to go get some more solid base information on nutrition, you know, and become certified as a nutritional consultant and all that stuff. Not that I even believe in certifications, but people like that shit. But almost all of the educational opportunities out there, I went to an online school that specializes in nutrition for a while, and they were pushing either a vegetarian or a very low protein diet, you know, whole grain, seeds, vegetables. There was no conversation about paleo, keto, candida diets, nothing. I couldn't believe how out of date the information was. Not saying that they had to be super pro those things, but there was not even a conversation about it. It was like, not that much different than mainstream medical shit, right? Like at least they were concerned about the quality of food and being healthy, but they're still stuck in that like 1990s, early 2000s, like the low fat, the Mediterranean, all that kind of stuff, right? And I was very surprised by that. I ended up switching into a different program that was a little bit more balanced, but still a lot of the same bullshit. So it is great that some of the respected heads in natural health are starting to shift a little bit. And yeah, I agree. Saladino and Sean Baker, they have a lot to do with that. Oh, this person also asked about Shmuel Asher. Yeah, I like Shmuel as a person. He and I have shared emails and whatnot. I've never interviewed him. Randy does those series of shows separately. I think Shmuel is smart and brilliant and fascinating, and a lot of his information is very interesting. I disagree with him about diet. We have had a private conversation about that, and I was not satisfied with his explanation to me as to why I asked him, I said, dude, I was a vegetarian for 15 years and a vegan for 1 year. That never helped me. As soon as I eliminated gluten, dairy, sugar, soy, all those things, that's what helped. And the meat fills me up and makes me feel good. How is not feeling good better than feeling good? And his response to me was something like, of course you feel better when you're like participating in the sacrifice of another and all that kind of stuff, which is something similar to what someone said to me in the comment section here. And I just respectfully disagree. I don't think that like how we feel should be that sacrificed. I'm not a cruel and unusual person. I don't like the idea of, you know, animals. I try and be as ethical as of hurting. I don't like the idea of hurting animals or any of that stuff. I try and be as ethical as possible in the way I do this. But, you know, I also pay attention to how my body feels. And I think moral attacks on people are just gross. Everyone's entitled to eat the diet that they feel is best for their physical, spiritual, moral, all that crap, evolution, and respect other people's decisions. I will never tell a vegan or a vegetarian to stop doing that. I might explain why that's not going to get them to the state of health that they need to be in for the situation that we're in right now. I will have some further videos about that in terms of cell wall integrity and animal fats. But we're all entitled to have our own experience here. And, you know, what a person chooses to eat, in my opinion, should not be basis for, you know, a moral judgment on them. That's what I have to say about that. What else was I going to say? Was there another? So somebody asked if my muscles have grown a bit. I've only been on the carnivore diet for a week. So, and I worked out a little bit less than usual. I've been having some issues with injuries in my body for the last year. So there was a time about a year and a half ago where I reached what has been like peak fitness for me as an adult through like running and exercising and healthy diet. And I'm not a person who ever gets really big muscles. I'm really small, so my muscles will just get more defined and tighter and whatnot. So I wouldn't, as I proceed through this, actually, one of the things that's interesting is my back is hurting less. I've been pretty much recovered for a while now and building my way back up to the fitness I used to be in, but my back is hurting even less since I started the carnivore diet. So that's awesome. So we'll see. I don't know if this is going to lead to more muscle growth or just the same kind of thing I've always experienced. I'm not looking for bigger muscles. I'm looking for peak fitness for me. And that's like being able to do endurance things for a long period of time and to look strong and tight. And that's kind of what I'm going for, and to feel good. And for having the diet and the exercise plan fit into a life that is balanced and happy for me. So that is kind of it for my carnivore update and my discussion of my experience on the vegetarian diet. I will be, on the next video, I'll discuss my short but interesting experience on the vegan diet. And I will give further updates on what's happening with me on the carnivore diet. And sometime in the next 2 days, I will also be announcing a wellness chat group that will be happening as well. So stay tuned for information on that. I think it's really important that we use this strange time here to not give in to fear and instead use this opportunity to get happy and get healthy. So I would love if you guys join in on these new ventures I'm starting. I am available for nutrition consultations and life coaching sessions. I'm offering really steep discounts right now because I understand that the financial landscape is changing and whatnot. So reach out to me and we can work something out. You can find me on Facebook at Emily Moyer, or you can email me at technobrat21@gmail.com. You can also find all my other work on Off Planet Media, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.